Potential MBA students may be doing the math. They're questioning whether the degree is really worth the money. And news that there was a 12% drop in applications to the Wharton School of Business raised quite a few eyebrows. So are business schools staying up with a shift of interest to tech and entrepreneurship? Well, with us is Anna Ivy. She's of the Ivy Consulting Group, a former Dean of Admissions at the University of Chicago Law School and President of the Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants. Anna, welcome.
Thank you.
When I think about the way Wall Street hires, it's all about hiring MBA students. You've got to be going to one of those top 5 schools in order to get the internship and ultimately get the full-time job. So are we seeing less applicants because nobody wants to go to Wall Street?
No, the applicant pool is rebounding, and those top schools are not going to go out of business anytime soon, so I'm not worried about them too much. What we are seeing is a shift in focus, what these applicants want to get out of business school. So hiring in the financial services sector is definitely down, no question about that, and that's no surprise, right? But you see more interest in entrepreneurship. That's what a lot of people want to do now, and so some schools are having to shift their own focus in terms of their offerings and
so
their branding.
So are the students more interested in going to a Yale, which is focused on entrepreneurship, rather than a Wharton or a Harvard, which are all about the street?
You know, I don't think that's accurate. I think Harvard has a lot more going on than just investment banking, and that's certainly true for Wharton, too. When investment banking was all the rage, it's kind of odd that that would now be held against these top business schools, that they did so well placing these students on Wall Street, right?
But is it a matter more of what you just said, that students want to get something different out of business school, or even if it isn't Harvard or Wharton, to Stephanie's point, the business schools aren't doing a good enough job of giving them options?
You know, some schools have always been really famous for entrepreneurship, which is what so many students want to do now.
Stanford.
So Stanford is the obvious case. Harvard Business School was a little bit late to that party, but wow, are they catching up. But even Wharton, which everyone is just picking on this week, does really, really well in entrepreneurship, no question about it.
But what if you go past the top 10, the top 15? There are clearly some very famous schools that will continue to do great because the name alone is enough. What about the rest?
Yeah, I think where we're going to see some squeezing is once you get outside the super elite schools, and that's true for higher education in general. Business school, the traditional 2-year full-time model, is very expensive to run. It's very expensive to attend. Are people still going to pay that kind of money to go to a less than elite business school? Not clear to me, and I think the less than elite schools are going to be the ones that feel that squeeze as higher ed changes and more gets delivered digitally and at lower cost. I think those are the schools that'll have to adapt or die.
And what do they need to do?
I think they're going to have to take a hard look at their business models, because the return on investment, no question, it's in flux right now. The value of the degree, you know, MBA salaries, people still definitely get a bump compared to pre-MBA salary, not as much as in the go-go days of the 90s, but it's still pretty good. What's really interesting, though, is that tuition keeps going up, up, up. So in the last 15 years, it's an average of 7% a year. That's pretty eye-popping. So if applicants are mindful of the return on investment, rightly so, they should be paying attention to it.
How about the employers? Do the employers care so much to see those 3 letters after somebody's name, or are they more interested in, say, prospecting for engineers or computer science grads or math grads or, heaven forbid, social sciences grad?
Oh, poor social sciences grads. I'm one of them.
Me too.
Yeah. Look, you know, STEM people, I think, are not going to be hurting. I'm not worried so much about people coming out of science, tech, and engineering. That world is looking good for them. I think if you're going to invest in a graduate degree and you're looking at business school, sure, it matters where you come out of. That's the world we live in. And there's a reason that Stanford and HBS and Wharton do not have to worry about a big drop in demand.
But the other
I think they're
schools
having
do, because students, like, they're not getting, I take it, right, that it really comes down to not getting your money's worth.
I think that's a really legitimate concern, and the last thing that should be happening is that people go off to graduate school and that it's a financially ruinous decision for them, and that's a risk.
Well, many people go to grad school just to get great job opportunities. Do the less than elite schools have those great relationships with big corporates that the big time schools do?
That's their job, right? And people go to business school for a number of reasons. You go to join a powerful network, you go because the right employers are there. So yes, if the network is important to you and the roster of employers is important to you, of course.